What's good? What's up, folks? What's going on? Welcome to episode 94. At the 94 of these joints. 94 of the Spun Today Podcast. I'm your host, Tony Ortiz. Thank you very much for listening. In this episode, I speak about watching a few movies. Black Panther, Wonder, The Shape of Water, and Fruitvale Station. If you're interested in my take or feedback on any of these movies, stick around. Just a heads up in advance. Spoiler alert if you haven't seen any of those movies. And a shameless plug in case you'd like to support the Spun Today Podcast and myself. Check out the affiliate links page on my website, spuntoday.com/affiliate links. There's a bunch of different ways you can help support the podcast there, including the Amazon affiliate link, an iTunes affiliate link. You should definitely rate and review the podcast. You can become a patron if you like, etc., etc., etc. And there's a ton of other cool shit on the website, of course, such as my free writing, my short stories, photography, a bunch of stuff. Hit me up on Twitter, @SpunToday, on Instagram, @SpunToday, and let me know what you think of the show. All right, so first let's start off with Black Panther. I'm glad to report that it was not just hype. There was some shade cast on this movie, saying that it was being overhyped and that it was being artificially inflated as, because it was a black movie and all black cast, mainly, the vast majority. I think there was like one white dude in it. But because it was an all black cast, that, that's why it was being propped up so much. But if it wasn't for that, it wouldn't have been, if it wasn't for that element, it wasn't a good movie, etc. And that is complete horseshit. I will say that element did exist. It was like in I don't know if empowering is the right word, but it was an all black cast. It was a great film. It was a movie that African Americans and other minorities were able to be proud of and rally behind and say, see, look what we can do. And it's a major Marvel movie, franchise film. It's going to be intertwined with the Avengers story, as Black Panther's character, I believe, is like in the comic books and shit. It was a massive, massive box office hit. So it is all that stuff, but the movie was good. It was really good. It was super entertaining. It was Marvel level quality. Is like top notch quality when it comes to superhero movies, like number one. The acting was impeccable. It was funny. It was a long movie. I think it was like over 2 hours. I want to say maybe close to like 2.5 around there. Maybe 2:15, 2:20. But it was long, but it had no like lulling moments. It kept me engaged like the entire time. I didn't know shit before of the like Black Panther story. What else? What was really cool? That the movie like garnered a type of viewership reaction, like an inclusiveness with people that went to go see the movie, because I heard a lot of stories about this, and when I actually went to the theater, I saw it myself, where I saw a couple women where there was like a family, whatever, and a couple of them were like in complete like African garb, which was like cool to see. You know what I mean? It was like a pride like mixed into the experience of watching the movie. It's kind of like, when like sci-fi geeks go to see Star Wars and dress as like Darth Vader or some shit, that was like a nice element to the movie as well. And what else? I really liked my man Michael B. Jordan in it, and he's Wallace from The Wire, who also did, he's done a bunch of shit, and he did like some soap opera or some shit when he was younger, like Days of Our Lives, or like one of the All My Children, like one of those like soap operas. And he did Fruitvale Station, which I'm going to speak about in a bit as well, and Creed most recently. And interesting fact, which was also a dope part of like watching this movie, is that the director Ryan Coogler directed Fruitvale Station with Michael B. Jordan. He directed Creed with Michael B. Jordan, and now Black Panther with Michael B. Jordan. And it's like 3 levels of budget. It was like a very small independent style budget for Fruitvale Station, then a bunch more for Creed, and then, you know, with Marvel, it's like top of the top budget wise. So as a director, Ryan Coogler definitely flexed his range and his scope of film making ability. So that's pretty cool as well. The movie, I thought the cinematography was cool in terms of like the color, like lots of like different types of color, you know, like traditional African dress, and there's a lot of like yellows and oranges and greens and blues. The story is basically of a place in Africa called Wakanda, and they have the most rare metal known to man called, it's not uranium and it's not adamantium. I feel like it's like a mix of those 2 words, but I can't pronounce it. Unobtainium, some shit like that. I don't know. But they have like all the supply of this like rare metal, or the vast majority of it, but they have it on the wraps, and it's like a secret, and it's something that is used in weaponry. It's used in energy for powering the country. It's used in technology, and it's like the most advanced technology on the planet. It's used in transportation, etc., etc. And Michael B. Jordan plays the son of an ancestor to this place that came to the States and wound up like betraying his like ancestors and family and stuff from there, from Wakanda. And so Michael B. Jordan always had like this like resentment type of thing towards this land that he felt from his vantage point like took everything from him, took his fam, took his father, because Black Panther wound up killing him, because which it was Black Panther's brother, but wound up killing him because he was about to shoot his, you know, like confidant or something like that, and he like sold some of the unobtainium, whatever it's called, to some people, or gave it away or something like that, and that was like the betrayal to the nation. But from Michael B. Jordan's vantage point, he seeing, you know, as a kid, just witnessing his like dad being killed, and kind of sort of learning the reasoning for it through his father's like journals and stuff like that. When he gets older, he builds this resentment towards Wakanda and those in power there, and he has vengeance in his heart. And I didn't think that Warmonger, aka Michael B. Jordan, was necessarily a bad guy, like a bad dude, like the antagonist of the movie. Even though, well, I can't say that. He definitely was the antagonist. But to me, he was more misguided because of his upbringing, because of how he came up, because of his surroundings, because of what happened to his pops. And growing up in, I don't know, it was like South Central LA type of place. And he was definitely misguided, but he was loyal and had a sense of justice. Like, he was loyal to his father, to his father's legacy, to that sense of vengeance. He was loyal to that. And he had that sense of justice of wanting to right a wrong. And to me, he was more of that than he was an antagonist that, just wanted world domination or some shit. Just for the sake of like power. Before he died, he also had this like epic line at the end of the movie, which was something to the effect of, "Bury me at sea, like my ancestors that knew that death was better than bondage." And he told that to Black Panther when Black Panther asked him, why don't you like join me or something like that? Let's join forces. Let's do shit together. Let's do good together or something like that. Or actually, no. My bad. I'm misremembering that part. He was going to go to jail for his crimes. He was going to like stand trial or some shit like that. Yeah, it definitely makes more sense. I like the banter between, or the relationship between the brother and sister. It was like funny. That was like the comedic relief in the movie. The sister was cool. She was like this like tech geek and made all the technology and weapons. She was like I don't know who the guy's called, Botsworth or something like that makes all the weapons for 007. She was like that to Black Panther, and happened to be his younger sister. And Black Panther, by the way, like the guy, when he wasn't a superhero, is the king of Wakanda. And interesting like tie-in here, which is something that I appreciate of all the Marvel movies, and I don't realize it or notice it as much because I'm not like so entrenched in like the comic book world. But in another movie, I don't remember if it was Avengers or if it was Thor or Captain America or something like that, there's a speech in the UN being given by this African dude, and then there's a bombing and he dies, and then the guy's son like runs towards him and cries and stuff like that, nothing he can do, and then he takes his father's ring, and that was Black Panther. That was the father, Black Panther, that killed the father when he was Black Panther. That killed the father of, or his own brother, the father of the warmonger guy, played by Michael B. Jordan. And then the current Black Panther that you see in this movie is the one that like ran towards him, and his son, and cried and took his ring, and it was always like, who is that guy? And now this movie answered that. But that's just for me as a layman. I'm sure those of you that are into the comic books or whatever, once you saw that and maybe like the emblem on the ring or something, like gave it away, or you knew the story of Black Panther, but I thought that was pretty cool. And lastly, definitely stay, all Marvel movies have shit after the credits, and now they've started, the last few movies that I've seen started doing like double credit ending things. Like they'll play some of the credits and give you another scene, and then play the rest of the credits and give you another scene all the way at the end. So stay for both. And something from the first one that stood out a lot to me was Black Panther's pretty much giving a speech at the UN saying that, they're no longer going to keep the unobtainium or whatever it's called under wraps, and as part of their like secret fucking super advanced culture, they are going to share their knowledge and their resources with the world, etc. And he starts speaking to coming to that realization because he realized that in times of crisis, wise men build bridges and foolish men build barriers. And I thought that was a really dope line that speaks to, and I'm sure the writers were conscious of this when putting this scene together. The setting is at the UN, and he's saying these powerful words of wise men in times of crisis build bridges, foolish men build barriers. I'm sure they had today's economic climate and political climate in mind, with people like Trump in power that want to build barriers, literal barriers, and build walls and be divisive, etc. And here in the movie, they're showing like one of the most real powerful people in the world that's a fucking superhero and has unlimited potential that the world has never even seen before, acting more towards the inclusive building bridges side of things, as opposed to saying, you know, fuck the world and I'm gonna rule this whole thing. And I thought that was pretty dope. But yeah, Black Panther, man, if you guys haven't seen it, definitely check it out. I was debating on just waiting for it to come out on DVD or download it when there's a good copy or some shit like that, but I definitely appreciate seeing it in the theater. It's like it was a theater type of movie, you know what I mean? It was like I don't know, like big action movies and stuff like that I think are really good for the theater. Not to say that I wouldn't watch it, you know, at home or whatever, but yeah, no disappointments, no issues with seeing it at the theater, so you guys should check it out. Next up is the movie Wonder. Now, it was a movie that I had no intention in watching. My wife wanted to see it. I watched it with her. It was like her turn to pick or something, which for some reason is more often than my picks, but she's a pregnant lady, so might as well keep her happy, right? It's the small things, folks. But I actually wanted to like in the movie. It was very touching. It was about this little kid that's deformed facially. He had like 100 facial reconstruction surgeries when he was born. He's like a, I don't know, 8, 9, 10-year-old in the movie, and it just shows him, you know, he was homeschooled for all his life by his mother, which is played by Julia Roberts, and which I love, by the way. You know what I like her from? My favorite chick flick of all time that I'm not ashamed to admit, which is My Best Friend's Wedding. From that movie, like, I've always like thought Julia Roberts was super dope. But yeah, she's the mother. Owen Wilson is the father. There's a daughter that's older, and I don't know her name. And then the little kid, my wife looked it up, and it's played by, you know, he's deformed in the whole movie, you know, his face and shit, which is all makeup and stuff. So I don't know like who it was, but it was the little kid that was in the movie Room, that was like stuck in the room, kidnapped or whatever. I've spoken about it in the past. I'm sure you guys have seen it. If not, check it out. Really good movie. But it's that same kid. It was like, oh shit, that's crazy. And then the voice sounded, because it's like narrated, which you guys know I'm a sucker for in like movies and shows and shit. And once you looked it up, I was like, oh shit, yeah, it is him. It's the same voice. Anyway, so this kid is transitioning from, you know, being homeschooled and having this deformity to going into, I guess, elementary school, but maybe it was a junior high. I don't remember exactly. Maybe, I don't know, 4th, 5th, 6th grade. And it shows like how rough it was for him. It's a touching movie, and you like root for the kid the entire time. Something that I thought was really cool, really my favorite part of the movie was the fact that it tells the story from different points of views. So it starts off like with the kid narrating it and you know, shows you the movie like through his eyes, through his point of view. Then it switches to the mother, and then the mother's narrating, and she's saying like how she sees shit from like her vantage point. Then the father, and then the sister, then the best friend, and then you kind of get into these people's worlds where they're all characters that were introduced beforehand, and you've seen them, but from the point of view of like the little kid or like of the mother or like whomever, right? And like the older sister has a best friend that is it was always like a childhood best friend or whatever. They're in high school now, and she's like stopped talking to her, and she's being a bitch with her and stuff like that. And you're like, yo, what the fuck is wrong with this bitch? And then it shows tells the story from the best friend's point of view. And the mother and the father got divorced. The mother started like drinking like crazy, and she had to like become the mother of the mother type of situation. And she like starts like breaking down and crying, and admits, like, while the story is in her point of view, that she has been being a bitch to the best friend because she like envies her life and how she has like a happy family, and she longs for that, and she misses when she was part of her family, and now dealing with all this shit, and she's unfairly taking on her friend and stuff like that. So you like empathize with each of the characters in the film because of that choice of telling it from different points of view, and I thought that was pretty cool. So if you're into like a nice, heartfelt, well-told story, check out Wonder. Next is The Shape of Water, which again was my wife's choice. And this one, I wasn't crazy about it. I think it fucking won Movie of the Year or some shit, which I definitely didn't get why it was even like nominated. But I don't know. I like the actors in it. You had a couple guys from like HBO shows like Boardwalk Empire. I forget his name. Something Rothstein was in it. Like one of the gangster guys. He played a scientist. The guy from Boardwalk that I think he was a cop, but then turned an FBI agent, turned into like the guy that worked for Al Pacino. That Al Pacino fucked up, or not Al Pacino. Fucking, I'm gonna say Al Pacino. Fucking Al Capone. That like religious weird motherfucker that used to like beat himself. He was in it and also played a weird religious motherfucker again. The awesome actress. I just looked up her name, Octavia Spencer. She was in Hidden Figures. She was in The Help. She was the one that made that pie made of shit, and she was like, "Eat my shit." She was also the mother in Fruitvale Station. Did a great job in that. So the acting was really good. The main protagonist, she was a mute woman that she couldn't speak. She had her like esophagus like clawed out or something, and she couldn't talk, but she could hear and stuff. She communicated with sign language, and it was a weird time, like the setting of the movie, I guess, and there was some like weird science experiment type shit going on, and the FBI found this like swamp thing, creature, half man, half fish looking thing in South America, and they were trying to experiment on it, and there was different interests, people interested in gutting him open and seeing what he's made of type of thing, and other people trying to look at him from a scientific point of view and see what parallels they can draw to humans, I guess. And this lady, the mute that works there as a cleaning lady in this top secret facility place, winds up falling in love with this fish creature thing, and like they get down and the whole nine. They have sex, like all types of fucking crazy shit. She steals it from the place and takes it home and puts he can only survive in the water. He can only survive out of the water for a limited amount of time. And she like puts him in her tub and very unrealistically winds up putting a towel under the door and then letting the water run in her bathroom, and then the whole fucking bathroom fills up like a fucking fish tank with water. Like that would fucking happen. And then she's like swimming around with him in there and banging or whatever. And I don't know. It was a weird movie. It wasn't. If I didn't see it, I wouldn't have been upset. Put it that way. I think there were some like undertones of like a class system or like racial undertones in that she emphasizes that the creature is being treated as less than, and that's why she has like an affinity towards him, because she feels that she's less than because she can't speak. And she makes the argument that if we don't do something to help the less fortunate, then we're not human, because that is the thing that makes us human. So like that kind of like her drive, it was like noble and cool, but besides that, and you know, having good actors and stuff like that, it was like it was alright. But that's what I thought of the fucking quote unquote movie of the year. I hope I'm wrong on that. I hope it did not win movie of the year, no offense. But if it did, whatever. Maybe I'm missing something. And last but not least, Fruitvale Station. Fruitvale Station is an older movie. It's available on Netflix if you guys want to check it out. I had not seen it, but something that I do regularly is watch a lot of interviews. I listen to a shitload of podcasts. I watch a lot of podcasts online. I watch other interviews like on The Breakfast Club or Sway's Universe or Rap Radar, just interviews in general. I like them. Forbes interviews by different colleges or universities. It's something that I'm into. Clearly, I do a podcast, so I like this type of shit. But I fall into like if I find someone that I like in one interview, like I fall into like this YouTube wormhole of watching like a whole bunch of their interviews and a whole bunch, of their appearances. Like I did that the other day with Nipsey Hussle, which I've heard the name, but I didn't know his music. I didn't know like anything about him. He was on The Breakfast Club, and I was like, yo, this is like a hood, like blood gang affiliated dude that is, I wouldn't have thought is like super smart and cunning and calculated and forward thinking and business oriented and knowledgeable fucking dude. And I really liked his I don't know, his, for lack of a better word, like his essence, like in interviews. And I looked up some of his music. His music is dope, and it's I don't know, it's cool. I like doing shit like that because I feel like I like found something, like found something new, which is new to me, but it's kind of like oh shit, like something dope. And anyway, I saw when with all the promo for Black Panther, like Michael B. Jordan was making his rounds and shit like that, and I caught a few of his interviews, and like a common through line that I saw was people kept referencing Fruitvale Station, and I had never seen it, and from what I could pick up from the asides of them mentioning it was that it was like some sort of like cult classic. So I looked it up. It was on Netflix. It was about shootings. A police shooting of an innocent unarmed person, and it sounded like an interesting watch, and I gave it a whirl, and I was not disappointed. It was dope. It was a really good movie. I wanted to see also. I knew I was gonna watch Black Panther at that point. I hadn't yet, but I was planning to, and I have seen Creed obviously, and I wanted to see like that progression of Ryan Coogler as a director going from like a small budget movie to a mid budget movie to a blockbuster huge budget movie, and to see like what he did with that like arc. And so I watched it and I was not disappointed at all. It's a really good movie that chronicles the life of this kid that is trying to get his life together. He's a bit of a fuck up, but a fuck up that's like finding his way. And that's relied upon by a bunch of people, like his daughter, his girlfriend, his I believe single mother, his sister, and he has all these people around him that kind of like rely on him, but he's like not stepping up to the plate in terms of providing for them. But they're not doing so much better either. they like his sister's working in a fast food place, and she was like calling him up to borrow $300 to pay the rent, and his rent is also like due, and he was like selling a little weed on the side, but he lost his job for being late all the time, and he wanted to like stop selling weed, and he threw away all his weed, and he's trying to do better because his girl's like pushing him to do better, and his girl works like at some supermarket type place, and he definitely doesn't seem to have like an easy go of it in his young life. And just when you feel that his he was in jail for I think selling weed, and he's a young dude, he wants to go out and have fun with his friends, but at the same time, transition from this poor fucked up existence where he doesn't feel like he's getting anywhere, like he's doing anything with his life, to a place where he can feel like he is doing something and is getting somewhere with his life. He just doesn't seem to know how to go about it yet, and he's like on the precipice of it. And long story short, he winds up getting into a fight over an old beef, like on the subway. And this is based on a true story, by the way, this movie, which is also a cool aspect to it. And then he gets pulled off the train, him and a bunch of his friends, by the cops. And he's at the point, like in this movie, where again he's like you feel like he's on the cusp of like getting his shit together and doing something with his life, and then this incident happens, and the movie shows elements of him having a very bad temper throughout the movie, and he was trying to like keep calm and keep things under control, but like with attitude, telling the officer, we didn't do anything, why don't you let us leave, you can't hold us here, like that type of shit. And then sadly, one of the trigger happy cops, quote unquote accidentally, it looked accidental in the movie, but who knows, in real life, shot him in the back while he was cuffed, and he wound up dying in the hospital, which is fucking sad. Super sad story. A small positive followed by a negative was that the cops that were responsible that night, that were there, the guy that pulled the trigger, the other cop that was with them, I think they both lost their jobs. The one that shot him actually went to jail, but he got like a 2-year sentence and was let out in like 9 months for good behavior or some shit like that. So it was like, oh yes, they're actually holding him accountable for what happened. And this happened back in 2009, if I'm not mistaken. The real incident. 2009, maybe 2003. I can't remember exactly, but and then, it's like they hold him accountable for real, and then but he just goes to jail for 9 months for killing someone and shooting them in the back. It's fucking sad, man. And shit like that happens all the time. We gotta do something about these fucking guns, yo. I know I'm from New York. I'm considered a lefty liberal or whatever, and it's definitely not about, taking away people's rights or guns. But I think it has to do more with mental health than anything else. But the availability of guns is absolutely a very large chunk of the equation. We've had upwards of 30 mass shootings in 2018 to date, and it's March. It's the beginning of March. Upwards of 30. With one of the latest in Florida, in Parkland, the students took to the streets and went to Washington and are being very vocal with trying to push change, and that's very admirable. A lot of the opposition that they get is that they shouldn't be, or just people in general, like pundits in general, and Republicans say the Democrats, that they shouldn't use this incident, this mass shooting, they shouldn't politicize it for political gain. And I say to that, yes, you absolutely fucking should, because it is a political issue. It is a resistance in the form of politics that is in the way of stricter gun control. And it's absolutely not about, I'm definitely not on the side of why do you need so many guns? Why do have whatever the fuck you want to have. But the people that are qualified to have whatever the fuck they want to have should have whatever the fuck they want to have. That said, the common sense gun control initiatives that are being pushed mainly by the left just seem to me common sense. I know I'm biased, but it just seems to me like a step in the right direction. It's not a panacea. It's not going to solve the issue. It is mainly a mental health related issue, which is a whole nother can of worms. But it is a step in the right direction in terms of putting things in place in terms of mandatory wait period of I think it's 3 days or something like that before you purchase a weapon. Competency exams, background checks into a person's personal mental health. Do fucking eye exam. You got to do an eye exam to get a fucking driver's license, right? Shit like that. Just something in that direction. And the only reason that opposers say, this is not the time to politicize a mass shooting or whatever for political gain is because they don't want to take steps in that direction. And it may be coming from a noble place of protecting the rights of my citizens, and one of their rights is to bear arms, and they're strict constitutionalists, and anything that erodes that right they feel is a slippery slope that can lead to taking all my guns away. It's like, I can respect the sticking to your guns to a certain point, pun unintended, but everything has a point of diminishing returns. And when lives are being lost at this rate, at this alarming rate, 30 plus mass shootings in less than 3 months, something has to change. I don't think that people should lose their lives for the inability of a culture to compromise. That's it, folks. That's all I got for you. This episode of the Spun Today Podcast is a wrap. Please stick around, listen to some tunes in the background, and find out on some really cool ways you can help support the Spun Today Podcast. Peace.
Dejo huellas en mi corazón, ya que todo parece normal, sigues mintiéndole al corazón, por eso ponle mucha atención, dame un beso y no vuelvas más, ya que todo parece normal. Sigue tu propio camino, cuidado, vas a ver que no se juega con vida ajena, mujer. Cuidado, puede ser que por las noches sueñes conmigo. Llevo 3 días sin dormir, hago de todo para olvidar.
Would you like to receive a short email from me once a week? You know that feeling you have on a Monday at work when you have absolutely nothing to look forward to except for lunch? Have no fear, the Midday Monday Boost letter is here. In this short weekly newsletter, you will receive 5 things. 1 is a photograph of the week from a photographer, a podcast of the week. I listen to tons of podcasts, dozens and dozens of podcasts, hundreds of episodes, and I cherry pick the best ones, and I share them with you here. You'll also receive a video of the week, which could be anything from a rap battle to a TED Talk. You receive a quote of the week, something to let marinate in your mind, and a word of the week so that you and I can both step up our vocab. So if any of that sounds of interest to you, check it out. Check out the subscribe page at spuntoday.com/subscribe. Drop in your email address and you'll receive the very next one. For any writers or creatives out there, I have a questionnaire. It's a 5-question questionnaire that anyone is free to fill out. It's located at spuntoday.com/questionnaire. And what it is 5 open-ended questions related to your craft. It's things like what inspires you to write or create whenever you don't feel the inspiration to do so. What are your favorite apps or tools or tricks to trick yourself into getting into the mind state of actually creating? What inspires you, etc., stuff like that. And what I do with your responses is share them on a future episode of the podcast. Now, you can choose to remain anonymous. If you choose to, you have that option right there when you fill out the questionnaire. And if you do not choose to remain anonymous, I give you a shout out on the podcast and promote for free whatever it is that you have going on. So I appreciate you in advance for sharing that with me, as well as the rest of the listeners of the Spun Today podcast, which would stand to gain from you filling out the questionnaire. Now, you can help support the podcast in a myriad of ways. One way, which does not cost you anything and is most popular within the podcasting community, is by shopping on Amazon using my affiliate links banner. So the way that works is you go to spuntoday.com/affiliate links, or just click on the affiliate links tab at the top center of the page. And there you will see a banner for Amazon. You literally just click on that and it takes you to Amazon's website where you do your shopping like you normally do. It does not cost you anything extra, but Amazon will give me a kickback just for driving traffic to their website. So that would be a big help. It literally costs you nothing extra financially, just costs you a couple of extra clicks of your mouse before you do your Amazon shopping. The iTunes banner that's on that same page works the same way. So if you're purchasing music or movies or whatever it is on iTunes, feel free to go through my affiliate link portal there as well. If you want to make a one-time PayPal donation, feel free to do so. There's a PayPal donation button on there as well. Within that same tab, you'll also find a link to the Spun Today Viral Style store. Now, the Viral Style store is a store where you can get Spun Today merch, whether it's a coffee mug or a t-shirt that I personally designed. And spoiler alert, I'm no Ralph Lauren or whoever designs Gucci stuff. But I did create the design of those shirts myself. I have a couple t-shirts on there. One that says, for example, "Right Need Every Day," which is a play off of Snoop, Dre, and Nate Dogg's "Smoke Weed Every Day." So it's "Right Need Every Day" with like a puff cloud of smoke behind it. I have a podcast versus everybody t-shirt and just stuff like that. So check it out. The link to the Viral Style store is also there. You can also help support the podcast on a reoccurring basis if you become a Patreon supporter. Now, Patreon is pretty cool, and there's a little video explanation of what it is and how it works, but I'll try to do my best to summarize it here. Basically, you sign on to Patreon, which is a free service, free account, and you can support not just myself, but any and other podcasters or creatives that also have Patreon pages. And you can choose to, for example, donate $1 to them on a per episode basis. So the Spun Today podcast has 2 episodes a month. So if you donate $1 to it, it'll be $2 a month, basically. And you set it up, and it just happens automatically on a reoccurring basis. There are 0 fees. You can cancel at any time. No hassle, no bullshit. And it's a cool way to help support, and is much appreciated. And also, it's not just like for example, a PayPal donation, which is just that, but through Patreon, it allows the creator, in this case being myself, to set up a reward system, if you will. So if you donate $1 per episode, you are considered a tier 1 supporter. If you donate $3 per episode, you are a second tier. supporter, etc., etc. And it goes up to 4 tiers. And each tier gets different things. Like tier 1 gets a free Spun Today bookmark and a shout out on the podcast. Tier 3 gets those 2 things from tier 1, as well as a free writing piece that's not posted on my website or available to anyone else, etc., etc. So check that out if you will, and visit my Patreon page at Patreon, patreon.com/Spun Today. Another great, amazing way to help support the podcast is to rate and review it. This costs you absolutely nothing. Whether you listen on iTunes, on Stitcher, on TuneIn, on iHeartRadio, on Pocket Casts, on Overcast, on Player FM, on Google Play, on YouTube, on Tumblr, or if you listen on Podbay or any other of your favorite podcast apps. Please rate and review the episode. It really is the number one way to help the show gain traction, gain exposure. You know, you could also share it with friends and family and tell them, you know, check out what this idiot is saying. Some of it is actually pretty good. Or it all fucking sucks and you should listen and laugh. But as long as you're listening, it would be much appreciated. So rate and review the podcast wherever it is that you listen. Follow me on Twitter or on Instagram at Spun Today. Like the Facebook fan page at facebook.com/Spun Today. Subscribe to my YouTube page as well. All podcast episodes are available on YouTube, as well as clipped versions. For example, with the Random Rant episodes, you know, I speak about a bunch of different topics instead of having the full episode alone, which is also available on YouTube. But you also have snippets of the different topics broken up into more digestible chunks. So check that out. You can also support by checking out my book, Make Way for You, Tips for Getting Out of Your Own Way. It's a quick short read if you're looking for some inspiration and motivation, and you can find out more about it at spuntoday.com/books. There you'll find a video of me telling you all how the book came to fruition, as well as a couple of audio excerpts. If you're interested, you can purchase it wherever books are sold: Kindle, iBooks, Kobo, in ebook or paperback format, which you can find on Amazon. Also, for being a Spun Today listener, I can also send you a free copy. Right there on that same landing page at spuntoday.com/books. Drop in your email address at the bottom of the page, and I'll shoot you over a copy in the format of your choice. And that's all I got, folks. Thanks again for checking out this episode. And as always, substitute the mysticism with hard work and start taking steps in the general direction of your dreams. Thanks for listening.